Hello everyone, Hobby Farm guys Steve and Brian here to talk about feeding chickens. Chickens are amazing creatures and they're pretty adaptable when it comes to diet. While providing access to pasture and fresh greens is great, and we'd probably argue necessary step to feeding your chickens, pasture and plants alone may not fully need the protein and energy requirements of your flock.
That's why most of us include at least some grain in our chicken's diet. Grains are a fantastic source of energy and contain many other nutrients as well. Most of us are familiar with the common grains and legumes used extensively in commercial mixes, especially the big three, corn, soy, and wheat. But these come with concerns or challenges for many. Today, we'll introduce you to three lesser-known grains that you can grow yourself and which make fantastic chicken food.
We'll get started right after the boss man, Hobby Farm guy Eric, rolls the intro.
This probably won't come as a huge surprise to anyone, but one of our common interests here at the Hobby Farm guys is food. We love to talk about food, grow food, prepare food, and of course, eat food. But more than just being a favorite activity, eating accomplishes some important things in our bodies.
Yeah. Food is, of course, broken down and used by our bodies to sustain growth and vital processes, and food serves as an energy source. Without food, we would be sad. And without enough food or the proper food, our bodies begin to have issues. The same is true in all animal life, including chickens.
Yep, and chickens have more specific nutritional requirements than other hobby farm animals like ruminants or pigs because they can't manufacture many amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, in their gut the way many other animals can. These amino acids that can't be synthesized by the chickens are referred to as essential.
In other words, it's essential that they're able to eat foods that already contain these particular amino acids as they have no other way of producing them or producing them in large enough quantities to meet their needs. Chickens need 22 amino acids, 9 they can't produce, and 5 more they can produce, but not in a quantity large enough to meet their needs. These must be consumed in their feed.
The most limiting amino acid for chickens is methionine. Additionally, chickens need vitamins and minerals. A chicken's daily need for amino acids, vitamins, and minerals can vary a bit based on age and life cycle, but are fairly consistent.
But a chicken's energy needs can vary considerably depending upon level of productivity, environmental temperature, and amount of physical activity. Chickens meet their daily energy needs by adjusting their feed intake. If eating a low-energy food, they simply eat more of it. This is one reason why you see feed intake go up during the winter. It takes more energy to stay warm, so chickens eat more.
And when it comes to energy, grains shine. Packed with carbohydrates and starches, grains are a great energy source for chickens. But grains don't have the amino acid and nutrient profiles to completely meet a chicken's needs. They all have some, but no one grain is a perfect option. This is why you often see a mix of grains in chicken feed along with other ingredients like fish meal or kelp to help boost amino acid and vitamin and mineral profiles.
Some grains also have anti-nutritive properties, which limit the amount of nutrition a chicken is able to extract from the food. While corn, soybeans, and wheat make fantastic chicken food, they also come with some challenges and concerns. Corn and soy are almost entirely GMO crops and require warm weather to grow. Wheat is lower in energy and can sometimes lead to sticky droppings. Today, we've got three grains you may not be familiar with, but which bring some great benefits to the table.
These grains are easy to grow and they pack a punch when it comes to both nutrition and energy. The first one we want to mention is millet. Millet is a group of small seeded types of grass. There are over 500 varieties differing in color, appearance, and species. Popular as a grain in Asia, Africa, and South America, many Americans are unfamiliar with this grain.
Some have heard of milo or sorghum millet. It is just one of the grasses in this group, and while it's okay as a chicken food, there are several other millets that make better chicken food. The most commonly grown varieties are pearl millet, proso millet, and foxtail millet.
Historically grown as a forage crop in the U.S. due to lower yields and susceptibility to rust disease, grain breeding programs in Georgia and Kansas have produced pearl millet hybrids with higher grain yields that are also resistant to rust-making millet an attractive option for those who are looking at growing their own grains for chickens.
Unlike corn, soy, or wheat, pearl millet can be grown productively in areas with harsh conditions like drought, low soil fertility, high salinity, low pH, or high temperatures. And it can be grown without fertilizers or pesticides. Oh, and it has a short growing season. Millet matures in as little as 30 days.
Nutrition values vary a bit based upon what variety you grow and the growing conditions. The most common variety grown in the U.S. and the most studied is pearl millet, with a protein level that varies from 9 to 21%. It is similar to wheat, but outperforms corn. The essential amino acid profile is also more balanced, and pearl millet is 40% richer than corn in the important essential amino acid methionine.
Several studies have been completed where pearl millet replaced corn in poultry diet. No adverse effect was noted in hen health or production, with up to 75% of the corn being replaced by millet. But they did find that the fatty acid profile of the eggs the hens produce was altered in a good way.
That's right. The eggs from hens receiving the pearl millet-based diets were generally higher in omega-3 fatty acids and lower in omega-6 fatty acids than eggs from hens receiving a corn-based diet. In the United States, eggs with increased omega-3 fatty acids are typically sold for a higher price than conventional eggs.
The only real negatives we found for millet were one, that it's exceptionally small and therefore difficult to grind, but several studies noted that positive results from feeding whole grain eliminated the need for grinding altogether, and two, that pearl millet is not a good source of xanthophyll pigments, which means the egg yolks won't be as dark as those from chickens fed corn.
Grain number 2 on our list is amaranth. There are around 75 species of amaranth. Some are grown for their spinach-like leaves, which are eaten as a salad. Others are grown for ornamental or decorative purposes, and some are grown for the small seeds they produce. Technically not a true cereal grain, amaranth is sometimes called a pseudo-grain, an herb, or even a vegetable.
Well, you can feed the leaves from the spinach-like varieties to your chickens. If you're looking to harvest and feed the grain, opt for a grain-producing variety over a leaf-producing variety. Generally, the smaller varieties produce better, more tender leaves, and the larger ones more grain. On average, many amaranths will be in the 4 to 6 foot height range, but some can reach heights of over 8 feet.
Each plant produces a single flower at the end of the tall reddish stem. Colors are usually burgundy, red, pink, or salmon. 10 species are native to North America, and all are dioecious, meaning each plant is either male or female.
But an additional 65 species are monoecious, producing male and female parts on the same plant, and are endemic to every continent except Antarctica. They grow from tropical lowlands to the Himalayas. Once established, amaranth needs little care.
More tolerant of drought than most other leafy vegetables, amaranth also tolerates a wider range of soils than other grain crops. Amaranth grows best in average, well-drained soil where it receives at least 6 hours of sunlight. It needs warm soil to germinate and can be damaged by spring frosts, so wait for the soil to warm before you plant this crop.
You can stagger planting every 2 to 3 weeks to ensure continued production. Mature plants are easier to harvest after a light frost in the fall. Amaranth will readily self-seed in the garden, or you can propagate amaranth by stem cuttings and division.
The energy content of amaranth is similar to that of other cereal grains, but the protein content is twice as high, 14 to 18%, nearly double the protein of many other cereal grains. Amaranth seeds are also said to have more balanced levels of the essential amino acids than other grain options.
Amaranth seeds have nearly twice the lysine content of wheat and 3 times that of corn. Amaranth is also high in methionine, the primary essential acid for chickens, which typically is found in low levels in most grains. And it's not just the seeds. The leaves are also high in both protein and methionine.
If this is sounding too good to be true, don't worry. It is. There's one issue with amaranth that has to be dealt with, but it's not a deal breaker for most. Unfortunately, like many other grains and legumes, amaranth contains anti-nutritional factors, biologically active chemical compounds, which depress the availability of nutrients to the animal body and interfere with metabolic processes.
If you have some amaranth growing and the chickens forage some of the seeds that fall, no big deal. Your chickens will get a tasty and nutritious snack even if the anti-nutrient prevents them from getting all the nutrients Amaranth has to offer. But if you begin growing and feeding Amaranth as a substantial portion of your chicken's diet, the anti-nutritional factors can begin to show up, as certain nutrients and minerals will be locked up by the anti-nutrients and unavailable to your chickens.
Studies show that feeding raw amaranth up to about 20% of your chicken's diet isn't a problem. But to push the concentration of amaranth higher, those anti-nutritional factors need to be dealt with. This is accomplished by applying heat. Various methods exist. Cooking, roasting, and popping can be done on a small scale with a little bit of setup.
There are other methods to deal with anti-nutrients, but they're more complex and expensive, typically used by commercial manufacturers. And it's not just the seeds. The leaves have the same anti-nutrients as well. Amaranth leaves are nutritionally similar to beets, Swiss chard, and spinach, but contain 3 times more calcium and 3 times more niacin than spinach leaves. Drying the leaves prior to feeding them to the chickens inactivates the anti-nutrients.
And finally, as with millet, amaranth lacks the pigments that bring about the deep coloration of yolks. So if deep, rich colored yolks are important, you'll need to supply another feed source that contains these pigments.
And the third less common grain that makes great chicken food is teff. Likely the smallest grain on the planet, it takes about 150 of the poppy seed-sized teff grains to make up the weight of a single wheat kernel. Thought to have originated in Ethiopia as far back as 4000 BC, teff is a warm-season annual grass that's becoming a popular choice for hay.
An important food crop in Ethiopia, teff's rapid growth rate makes it possible to plant and harvest teff following a cereal grain harvest in the same year. Teff is also used as an emergency crop for famine relief. Farmers can sow teff when other crops are failing and still get a harvest off the field, providing food during a famine. Some varieties are ready for harvest only 2 months after planting.
Because teff is a warm season grass, it grows slowly in cool weather and doesn't tolerate freezing temperatures. So teff shouldn't be planted until spring temperatures have warmed. Spring rains can help establish teff, which is relatively drought resistant once roots develop at 2 to 3 weeks.
Being quick to grow and drought hardy once established, teff can be planted and grown at times when water is available in those areas prone to drought. Amazingly, in addition to growing in drought-stressed conditions, teff also grows well in waterlogged soil. It's able to withstand wet conditions perhaps better than any other cereal other than rice.
Teff will also grow in poor soils. Grown primarily on sandy loams, it can grow in heavy clay soils as well, as long as there's adequate drainage. Teff prefers a neutral to slightly acidic soil and can tolerate as much salinity as alfalfa. It thrives in dry areas with a short, rainy season. Teff grows quickly and chokes out other weeds once established.
In the U.S., the main source of teff is right here in the Snake River region of Idaho, where, ironically, the hot, dry summers and the geology closely resemble the growing conditions of teff's native Ethiopia. Often used as a forage crop or cut into hay, the small size of teff grains can make processing somewhat challenging.
Indeed, the name teff is thought to have originated from the Amharic word teffa, which means lost, in reference to the grain's minute size. Chickens will readily forage the seeds right from the plant, however, and if you do opt to harvest the grain, teff stores well. Not affected by weevils or fungi, seeds remain viable for planting for 3 years and good as a feed source for 5 years.
Until recently, little was known about the nutritional composition of teff. This, along with challenges in processing teff, prevented its widespread adoption as a cereal grain beyond its native Ethiopia. However, over the past 2 decades, teff has begun garnering interest as a gluten-free cereal grain with a good nutritional value.
The nutritional value of teff grain is similar to that of other traditional cereal grains. Considered to have an excellent amino acid composition, its lysine levels are higher than those of wheat or barley, but slightly lower than rice or oats. Alongside amaranth, teff is one of the highest protein grains.
Teff leads all the grains in calcium content by a wide margin, with a cup of cooked teff offering 123 milligrams, about the same amount of calcium as in a half cup of cooked spinach. It also boasts plenty of vitamin B6, zinc, and fiber, all without the gluten.
So if you're looking for options for alternate grains for your chickens or other livestock, take a look at millet, amaranth, and teff.
If you're new to the channel, we hope you'll consider subscribing. We put out videos every week on a variety of hobby farming topics, including lots of videos about chickens. Also, please take just a second and click that like button for us if we've earned it today.
Yeah, clicking the like button helps us out a bunch, and it's super easy to do. Thanks for watching, everybody, and keep on hobby farming.